Hey, I'm Justin Stiver from Passionflix's Wicked, playing Roman, and I've been hanging out in the man cave with Elias.
Justin, welcome to the cave.
Thank you, thank you. Good
What's
to be
going on,
here.
my friend? How's your day today?
Pretty good. It's kind of like a little chilly still and rainy in New York, but it's improving.
Uh, so yeah, you got a big movie coming out in a few weeks on a Passionflix called Wicked, which is a trilogy. It's based out of books, and I can't wait till we talk about that. But
Yeah.
when I was doing some research on you, I noticed that you started off in the modeling career, and then from there you got into the acting. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I'm actually a farm boy. I grew up in Ohio. But I kind of had the acting bug from like a young kid. I was always in the church plays, and I was just
Yeah,
always kind of a part of that like world and wanted to do more and know more. And then sometime between like high school and college, I grew 6 inches. I grew out my hair, and like my whole look kind of changed. And
yeah,
I started getting a lot of feedback like, are you a model? Like you should really kind of get into that and try that whole world. Because for me growing up, that was not really a thing. And so yeah, so I just kind of like saw where it led, kind of, which
wow,
brought me to New York.
well, how old were you when the modeling started?
I mean, I actually came to New York to like check it out.
Yeah,
My summer semester of my junior year of college.
wow,
I was only like 20. And I kind of got here and was kind of blown away because it was very different than where I grew up on,
right, yeah.
you know, cornfields in Ohio. But I loved it. I loved the energy of the city, and I was kind of just had it in the back of my mind that this is where I wanted to end up.
Yeah. Well, when you first went out there and you started doing the modeling, and then you start taking acting lessons too.
I didn't. I landed on this. Very first thing I ever did in New York was a like reality show called
Okay.
Intern. It wasn't a reality show really. It was like a boot camp for soap opera.
Okay.
You heard of the show As the World Turns?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was a boot camp, and the winner of this show basically got a contract on the soap. And it was the first thing I did. I landed it like 3 days after I got to New York.
Oh,
And
wow.
yeah, I was super lucky. I actually filmed the audition tape from Ohio with my mom as my reader. um, and then, yeah, I got to New York. I ended up doing that. I didn't book the contract on the soap, but because of that, I had managers reaching out to me and agents and all these people wanting to work with me, but I had no clue how to audition or how to act for film and TV because I had
Hmm.
never, it was like kind of my first thing. So yes, to answer your question, I jumped into classes and I jumped into a 2-year program at William Esper, and I just kind of started to like actually learn about the craft of acting.
Oh, wow. How did you give yourself any time? Like, okay, I want to give it a year and a half before I decide to pack my bags and move back. Did you have a backup plan while you were out in New
I
York?
mean, I probably had a backup plan originally, but then I got to New York, and New York is such a cool city that there was so much to do and other job opportunities. And I don't know, there was no city like it. So I kind of just fell in love with it and didn't really say, like, ooh, here's my backup plan. I was just kind of like, well, let's just keep going and see what happens.
Mm. So yeah, I noticed you also did you were on HBO's The Deuce, and then you had a scene also on the Colbert Show. It's like, tell us a little bit
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah, so my first kind of TV like co-stars a couple of years ago, I booked the Late Show with Stephen Colbert, and
Yeah.
I've been on it multiple times, always playing sexy Abraham Lincoln,
I saw, yeah.
which I don't know why. I guess this looks a lot like Abraham Lincoln, but yeah, I've gotten to do some really stupid, like hilarious little skits with them for them, and that kind of like got me on set and got me kind of like into the world of it. And that just made me even more, want to do it even more.
Mm. How about HBO's The Deuce? Tell us a little bit about that, because it had James Franco and Maggie
Yeah,
Gyllenhaal.
James
Like,
Franco, Maggie
yeah,
Gyllenhaal. It was on HBO for 3 seasons. It's
yeah,
such a gritty, really awesome look at New York, like set back in the like 70s and 80s. It was kind of when New York was like scarier, and there was like underground mob bosses and prostitution
Right.
in Times Square and stuff like that. So it's a great show. I actually, when I was auditioning for it, I ended up going back and just watching an episode to kind of get the feel for it, and liked it so much that I ended up binge watching the whole first season.
Now,
And then
was that filmed in New York?
filmed in New York. Yeah.
Oh, so that must have been great for you since you were living there and everything,
Yep.
and the way it worked out.
It's always a dream when it's like your call is like in your same town, or I've even had a call where it was like 20 blocks from my house.
You could walk to work, which is great.
Exactly. That's the dream.
So yeah, tell us about the new project. It's on Passionflix. It's called The Wicked. It's a trilogy. It's from books. How exciting has this been for you?
Yeah, I mean, I've had so many people in my career tell me like, you would make a fabulous vampire, you would make a fabulous bad guy. I think because I have like deep set eyes and like darker features that people just kind of always assume I'm the bad guy. I do go in a lot for the bad guy. So when Wicked came along, it was amazing. It's my first kind of step into the sci-fi world, which I personally love sci-fi. I've grown up, I watch a lot of shows. I'm just into that world. So when I got the audition for it, I was really excited. I actually read for a different character in the book for the first audition. Okay. And then I ended up booking Roman. And yeah, it's based on it's a New York Times bestselling author's book trilogy. And it's kind of, I say like, it's not the world of vampires because it's not vampires, but it's the world of like fairies, but there are good fairies and bad fairies. And it's like a whole different way to learn, because Jennifer writes she makes the world so clear and so like intricate that it's really fun to dive into all the different like rules of this world and stuff like that.
So when you said who did you audition for first?
Yeah, so the guy who actually plays kind of like the main bad guy in the show, his name is Marlon in the show, and I actually auditioned for him. Okay. And ended up the actor Dean West booked that role, and I kind of play his right-hand man, so I'm kind of like the henchman, which both roles were really fun to read for and fun to play with, but I love where I ended up a lot.
Yeah. When you booked the role, did you go back to read the books just to get a feel about your character?
Yeah, I did. I was really fortunate. A lot of times they don't give actors the scripts beforehand. So we're kind of just going, when we audition, we're going with like a 3-page scene, and we kind of have to figure out the rest ourselves. But I was fortunate they gave me the whole script to read before the audition, which, made the audition so much easier for me, the actor. But yeah, as soon as I booked it, I went back and I got the book and I started to read it, and I would find where my character was showing up. And Passionflix did a really good job of staying very true to the book. So I think fans of the books will be extremely happy because they pay a lot of homage to the book, and they're very...
Yeah, actually, that was like my next question was gonna be like, how similar is he from the books? Because sometimes, they do these books to movies and the character is totally different.
Different, yeah.
70% different than the book.
Yeah, no, I think because Passionflix's concept is kind of like doing a lot of films and shows based off of books that are bestsellers and already have like a following built in to the books. I think they try to stay really true to it. So it mirrors it very closely.
From what I found out with the books, there's a huge following with these books.
Huge. Yeah. Each time like they announce someone in the cast, like we would get welcomed into the family by like lots and lots of comments and people very excited about the fact that we had, taken on that role, and it's great. There are a lot of
now, you mentioned you play Roman. How do you so how would you describe him?
So Roman, he's a fae, which is like an evil fairy. It goes back to like Scottish mythology. And he's kind of the one doing all the legwork, all the groundwork, like the grunt work, to kind of set everything up for, this big, as these shows and movies usually have, like an epic battle between good and evil. Yeah. He's kind of the one running around kind of taking care of a lot of things and disposing of a lot of the good guys in order to get us there.
So there's a little action in the movie also.
Oh yeah. Probably. I mean, let's face it, I have been stabbed, I've been shot, I've been punched, I've in a lot of different roles, I've done many different things, but Wicked was definitely the most stunts I've ever gotten to do.
Oh wow.
We had stunt coordinators, all the leads had stunt doubles, and it was very safe, but I got to do so much cool stuff. I was the one yelling like, let me get thrown against the wall, let me get kicked again, let me get punched again. Like, I love that stuff. So
have you done stunt work before?
I mean, other than it's always been stunt work like that we were taught on set with like stunt coordinators and people of the show. I haven't taken outside classes on it or on fight choreography, but after this, I kind of got the bug to be like, I want to do more of this. I want to like learn how to be like an action movie guy.
Now you mentioned you played, you're a bad guy in the movie also. Like any like challenges playing this character? Like,
I mean, as an actor, we always like use little pieces of ourself to like tap into the role.
Yeah.
So you just kind of have to find the parts of you that are like short-tempered, and like you kind of find within you what fits to kind of fall into it. But also the fact that it's sci-fi and it's all kind of made up around this world that she created, you can get so much backstory just by reading it and understanding it more, and that I think that helps too to kind of really click into all this.
Yeah. What do you love about this character that you play?
I mean, I do love that he's a bad guy. I love that he's kind of like no bullshit, like straight to the point. Like he's, they're evil. They're plotting the end of humankind. So they're not nice guys. And I'm a pretty nice guy.
It's always the nice guys. I love playing bad guys. I had a guest on yesterday, and I said to him, would you ever want to play a superhero? And he's like, no, I like playing the villain. It's just too much.
The bad guys. It's so, yeah.
That's awesome. Was this filmed during quarantine?
Well, so that's kind of the crazy story. So I went back after kind of all this past year has happened, and I looked at my actual contract from my agent, because I was like, I booked it right before everything happened with COVID. I actually booked this 4 days before everything shut down.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And then everything got put on pause, and they kind of told us, in the future, when things reopen again, we're going to pick back up where we left off. But I basically booked it right before COVID shut everything down. And then they picked back up last fall, and we filmed last fall and last winter.
Oh, wow. How long?
It was kind of crazy.
How long did you guys film?
I think they filmed a total of like maybe a month and a half, maybe like 47 days or something like that.
Where was this at?
What?
Where'd you film?
Oh, New Orleans. It's all filmed.
Okay.
It's all based in New Orleans.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I got to go down there for like a month, and I got to tootle around, and I had never been, so it was really fun to explore.
Yeah. How were the restrictions for like the cast? Like, were you guys in a bubble? And
I mean, it was pretty strict. Anytime, if you had gaps in between shooting, you had to go to set, 48 hours before and have COVID tests. There were nurses on set. There was COVID protocol people. We weren't allowed to like eat together. It was very strange because it's the first time I had ever done COVID, and obviously they were taking it very seriously. So there was that weird dynamic where on set you would be working with people and close to them and running your scene, and then as soon as cut was called, like you were putting your face masks back on and you were separating, and it was kind of bizarre. Yeah.
So how was it like working with the cast, and how would you describe the vibe on set?
I mean, Taryn O'Neill, our director, she was amazing. She gives great notes, and also there was something about, because it's sci-fi, there's all these special effects that happen, but they don't happen in the moment. So when you go to put a spell on someone, it's called a glamour, and you kind of like breathe into them, and you kind of control them that way. And so all of these things are being added in after the fact, with post-production and special effects. So it takes a lot of the cast working together to make these things look realistic, because we might be doing one thing, but then they're going to add in a whole bunch of effects afterwards. So everybody was really like team player, gung-ho. I had a lot of scenes with Anna Mesh, who is the star of the show. She plays Ivy. And she was just always same. She was always down to like try another stunt, or try it this way or get a little crazy with it, which was always a lot of fun.
That's awesome. So we mentioned earlier that the movie comes out end of May. Has it been, have you had any about when you guys are going to start filming the second movie? Because I know there's three movies, right?
Yeah, so there's two more. Yeah, I mean, I think the plan is to film it later this year. I know everyone's schedules have to match up. It's a whole thing now because basically everything everybody was working on just kind of got put on pause or shut down or held for close to a year. And now they're trying to like juggle everybody's changing schedules and stuff. So, but yeah, the fan reception to the first one coming out has been, I think, even more than they were expecting. So probably as soon as possible is my guess.
So for the listeners and the viewers, tell us one more time, how can they watch the movie and when it's coming out?
Yeah, so it's coming out May 27th, and it's basically a streaming service just like Hulu and Netflix, but it's called Passionflix, and they do all original content based on best-selling books.
Justin, lastly, how can the listeners and the viewers find you on social media?
Yeah, I mean, I'm on Instagram, I'm on the Twitter, I try to stay active, and it's all under my name, just Justin Stiver.
Justin, this was great. Thank you for coming on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Elias. This was awesome.
Cool.